There are three arms of government that we learned in our secondary school: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The last two acting as check and balance to the first one, which is the executive. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, there is no check and balance. It seems as if the last two are another branch of the executive. There is no check, there is no balance, there is no opposition, there is no questioning. Now we have the issue of Sim Fubara, the River State governor, being removed from office, a democratically elected governor, his vice and the legislative arm of the state being suspended. And there is nobody coming out to tell us constitutionally where this comes from, because it is a political somersault. And if we all sit quiet and give this a precedence, it will haunt us in the future. This is Diary of a Broken Man, where we dissect political, economic, and social issues concerning our country, Nigeria. Remember to subscribe, to like, share, and comment. Now, to determine whether President Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency is in Rivers State and the suspension of the democratically elected governor, deputy governor, and the legislators are justifiable under the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria as amended, we must examine the relevant provisions, particularly the Section 305, which governs the declaration of a state of emergency, and the other sections related to the removal of elected officials. Now, first of all, we'll talk about the declaration of the state of emergency. Now, Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution as amended outlines the conditions and the procedures for declaring a state of emergency. It states that the President must issue a proclamation of a state of emergency in the following circumstances. 1. That the Federation is at war. Is Rivers State at war or Nigeria at war? Of course, no. 2. That the Federation is in imminent danger of invasion or involvement in a state of war. Is that the case? No. 3. That there is actual breakdown of public order and public safety in the Federation or any part thereof requiring extraordinary measures. Is that the case? I don't think so. Because what is happening in Rivers State has not gotten to that point where there is an actual and total breakdown of law and order. They say the pipeline was blown, even if we need to be saying the truth as Nigerians now. This is no longer the time to sit on the fence or to sit somewhere and be, you need to stand up for what is the truth. This is constitution that's supposed to be guiding Nigeria. And if we allow political somersault to be happening in our country, then we are gone. We better stop using the word democracy. If we cannot abide by the democratic constitution guiding a democratic government, if we cannot, then we'll stop using the word democracy and we'll use autocracy instead. Dictatorship. These are suitable words. Since that is why a whole house of representative, in fact, National Assembly of Nigeria, in a democratic government, stood up. Instead of singing the national anthem of a nation, they sang on our mandate which shall stand. Where does it happen? Just Nigeria. Let's go on. The next one. The President receives a request from a state governor and the State House of Assembly to do so due to a breakdown of public order and safety in that state. Was that the case? I don't think so. I don't think Fubara made that call. The proclamation must be transmitted to the National Assembly within 2 days if it is in session, or within 10 days if it is not for approval by a 2/3 majority. Now, we saw the National Assembly today, the two arms of the National Assembly, the Senate and the House of Rep. We saw the somersault they did today. We saw their drama. I mean, we are witnessing the worst point of breakdown of law and order. The actual breakdown of law and order is being done by those who should be the lawmakers. They said 2/3 of the population of of the National Assembly, two-thirds of the population, which means there must be a quorum. It's not the eyes have it anymore. And it was not even as if so, given the current date, March 21st, which is yesterday, 2025, and they're assuming President Tinubu declared the state of emergency on the 18th of March, as we've seen, the justification would hinge on whether the situation in Rivers State, like a political crisis, merits the threshold of a breakdown of public order and public safety, requiring extraordinary measures. Political instability alone does not automatically qualify unless it escalates to a widespread violence or collapse of governance threatening public safety. The River State people are not at war, they are at peace, going to their work, doing their various things, and then upon them was declared a state of emergency. Most of them are still in shock. How is it happening? We are going about our normal duty. It's just a political, noise going on between the past governor and the present governor. How does it translate to River State people? And all of a sudden, state of emergency that only happens in extreme cases. Because people seem to misunderstand the word state of emergency. This is the last resort of a government. State of emergency should be the worst case scenario. It shouldn't be done anyhow. And all of a sudden, the National Assembly of Nigeria cannot stand up for what is right. The National Assembly of Nigeria sat there and we are doing eyes have it and nays have it. And the only people who stood up to counter the motion were shut down immediately as normal. We're all saying this so that the future generation will look at us and know that at least we made efforts to say that what is right and what is wrong is wrong. We must call a spade a spade. Cannot be lying to ourselves as a nation. Okay, so without specific evidence of such breakdowns, example riot, insurgency, or political disputes beyond control, the declaration could be constitutionally questionable. Furthermore, the National Assembly's approval would be required by March 20th, 2025 if it was in session or within 10 days otherwise. If approval was bypassed, the declaration lacks procedural legitimacy. Suspension of elected governor, deputy governor, and state legislation. This is a separate issue and far from contentions under the Constitution. The 1999 Constitution does not. The 1999 Constitution does not. Let me repeat it again. The 1999 Constitution does not grant the president the power to suspend or remove elected state officials during a state of emergency. The key provisions include Section 188 of the Constitution, as amended 1999. This outlines the process for removing a governor, a deputy governor, or legislative arm of government in a state. This is the law, which requires impeachment by the State House of Assembly for gross misconduct, which we have not cited in Fubara. Gross misconduct. It involves a detailed procedure, including a two-thirds majority vote, and does not involve the president at all. Section 11 or Section 11 of the same Constitution states that during a state of emergency, the National Assembly make laws for the peace and the order and the good government of the State House of Assembly if the State House of Assembly is unable to function. This is the only time they come in. If the State House of Assembly is not functional, then the National Assembly takes over, makes some laws for peace to reign in the state. Even then, this does not extend to suspending elected officials. It is about legislative authority, not executive removal. Section 1, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended states that the Federal Republic of Nigeria shall not be governed, nor shall any person or group of persons take control of the government of Nigeria or any part thereof, except in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution, the 1999 Constitution as amended. This reinforces that only constitutional processes can alter governance structures. Historical precedents support this interpretation. For example, we saw in 2013 when President Goodluck Jonathan declared a state of emergency in Borno, in Yobe, and Adamawa due to Boko Haram, a very stringent issue that was happening then. Boko Haram bomb blast everywhere around these states mentioned. He did not suspend the governors or state assemblies despite a far graver security crisis. Similarly, in 2006 Supreme Court ruling between Dariye versus Attorney General of the Federation, this clarified that the emergency powers under Section 305 cannot be used to remove elected officials. It was clearly stated. That was the precedent set in Nigeria. And all of a sudden, we are hearing the ayes have it. Where does the law come from? From which constitution are these people? I thought we have lawmakers. Where does their power come from? I'm confused. Only impeachment or recall for legislator under Section 110 can achieve that, not more. Okay, so let us analyze this issue under contention. State of emergency, that's the first thing we analyze. The declaration might be justifiable if Rivers State faced a genuine breakdown of public order and safety. Example, widespread violence or anarchy beyond the political field. And if the National Assembly approved it within stipulated time. However, a political crisis between figures like Governor Fubara and his predecessor Nyesom Wike, as speculated in some contexts, does not clearly meet this threshold without evidence of broader chaos. Procedural compliance with National Assembly approval is also critical. As we've seen, they have done the ayes have it as against the Constitution. Okay. The next one is suspension of elected officials. This action is not justifiable under the 1999 Constitution as amended. No provision allows the president to suspend a governor, a deputy governor, or a state legislature even during a state of emergency. Removal requires impeachment according to Section 1188 or recall Section 110. Processes exclusive to the state level. The appointment of sole administrator as speculated or as we've seen because he has been sworn in without a constitution, because I don't know the constitution that swore him in. I don't know the constitution with which he's functioning now. Because for him to act on, to touch the taxpayers' money, he has to act under the constitution. So which constitution was he sworn in with? Who was the attorney that swore him in? I'm just confused with the way things are happening in Nigeria. And the way all of us are watching it, and some people go on national TV to defend what. Sometimes I don't understand who we call intellectuals in Nigeria, because it's clearly I'm seeing that some people we call intellectuals should be sent back to school, especially the ones that claim to have gone through the schools of law, who can no longer understand the tenets of the law and the Constitution that they studied for many years. Probably because of brown envelopes and backhands, can no longer say the truth again to power and to whatever it stands. It's painful. The appointment of the sole administrator as speculated or as we've seen, further violates the federal structure and the democratic principles enshrined in the Constitution. In summary, while a state of emergency could theoretically be justified with sufficient evidence and the proper procedure, the suspension of Rivers State elected officials is not supported by the 1999 Constitution. It represents an overreach of presidential authority, undermining Nigeria's democratic framework unless reversed or upheld through unconstitutional means. The lack of unconstitutional backing for such suspension makes this aspect of Tinubu's action legally indefensible. Let me know what you think in the comment section, how you see it, because as I see it myself, everything about this is wrong. It seems as if or the way I'm seeing it, it's like a supportive action of whatever Wike has been saying and doing all along. Seems as if we are playing to the galleries in the nation. The precedent we are setting is such that it will affect the next generation if we are not being careful. So let me know what you think in the comment section about this, political somersault and brigandage we are seeing in the latest days in Nigeria, latest years. How do you think we can get better as a nation, operate under the tenets of the Constitution, uphold the rule of law, and then make the nation better? Remember to subscribe, remember to like, to share, to comment, and turn on the notification for more content like this. And I will see you on the next one. Cheers.